Welcome to the Finding Fertile Ground podcast, where I discover stories of grit, resilience, and connection. I'm your host, Marie Gigi, and this podcast is brought to you by Fertile Ground Communications. We help organizations and people discover what makes them special and help them share that with the world. Look us up on fertilegroundcommunications.com. For our first episode, we're speaking with Olive Bukuru Kabura. She was born in Burundi, and when she was just 6 months old, her parents escaped from genocide on foot, fleeing with their 2-year-old daughter and Olive along with her twin sister. They lived in a refugee camp in Tanzania until immigrating to the U.S. when Olive was just 10. I met Olive last fall when I was coordinating an event at my church for the City of Beaverton Welcoming Week called Voices from the Margins. We featured the stories of inspiring immigrant women. I immediately fell in love with Olive. I was so inspired by her story and her confidence at such a young age, and we became friends. When I decided to start a podcast featuring people who inspire me, I knew Olive would be a perfect first guest. I hope you enjoy my conversation with her. My guest today is Olive Bukuru Kabura. She is full of grit, resilience, and connection. Hello, Olive. I have not seen you for a while.
I know.
So tell me about
seen you too.
Tell me about what you've been up to.
So I work as a personal support staff. So we support families who have kids with disabilities. We pretty much just give them a break.
And who are you quarantining with? Your family?
Yeah, I'm quarantined with everybody in my house, my mom and dad, my sister and brothers.
And how are you all getting along? Getting along okay? Should I not ask that
question? I don't think we like each other, that's for sure.
Oh no.
We get on each other's nerves. But, one thing that, that was good about this whole thing is the fact that we're now like eating at the same table.
Yeah.
We really haven't done that in so long.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time like I made a meal and then we all sat down, put our phones down and ate. Like this whole thing had to happen for us to like rethink.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Funny? I know. It's a shame, but I'm glad you're seeing some positive things come out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you share with our listeners about where you were born, where you grew up, and how you ended up in the United States?
I was born in Burundi, Makamba, and at 6 months, my parents fled a war. They fled to a refugee camp, Nduta camp in Tanzania. And I grew up there until I was, I believe, 10. And during the time I was growing up, they have been looking for ways to like move out of that kind of lifestyle because it was a lot of violence going on. I remember they applied for resettlement in Australia, America, pretty much, in European countries that are safer. And in 2006, we ended up getting accepted by the U.S. And, they didn't waste no time, They signed the papers and stuff like that. And pretty soon we were doing our screenings. Took a long time to do that. Mm-hmm. And by the summer of 2007, we hopped on the first plane with like 2 or 3 bags. I believe like 1 bag or 2, but could be wrong. And we arrived here. We left everything behind and, just brought ourselves and we're here.
And tell our listeners a little bit about what it was like in the refugee camp. I know you've talked about some positive memories and some harder memories.
Some of the positive memories, I got to see my friends, I had a family. Most people didn't have any of that, almost everybody died. I went to school. Granted, it was far, but I still went to school and got my education. Some of the negative memories I remember is, poverty, hunger. That was like an everyday thing. Violence, pretty much an unsettling feeling. Like, are we going to live tomorrow? What's going to happen tomorrow? oh my gosh, like that kind of anxiety, you know? Yeah, there was a lot of that.
So there was actually violence in the refugee camp itself.
Yeah, there was. Sometimes it was like, petty crimes, like people stealing, using violence to do that. In most cases, like rape, only towards women for some reason. And then like rebels just gunning. I was young. I didn't understand any of this. I would just hear it about it. Rebels firing. I bet there was other stuff going on, but
right. But
your
parents kind of protected you from a lot of that.
Yeah.
So you don't remember really feeling too scared then, or?
But the only time I do remember feeling too scared was when me and my friends would go like in the woods because we were hungry. Like we would go get berries and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing violence from like the older people. And you're like, oh my gosh, should we go? Should we go? Should we not? Those are the kind of things that made me, anxious. But to be quite honest with you, I think I feel like I lived a good life. I just, because like I was shielded away from all that violence, I never actually got to see it like that, like firsthand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And your parents, do they talk about that time and what it was like for them? I would think
honestly,
as a parent, that would be hard. Really?
They don't, unless they want us to learn something, out of a scenario. They will share those kind of stories. They don't share that a lot. I feel like they're like very traumatized as well. They don't want to have to relive it.
Yeah. And especially because I can't imagine as a parent, the feeling of having, how many of you had several brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah. At the time, there was 7 of us.
I can't imagine that, being a parent and feeling like you had to protect your 7 children in the camp and with the violence. And I can't imagine how awful that would be for them.
Right. And honestly, that's why I try to be, the best version of me to make them proud.
Oh.
I don't want them to feel like, they give up all of these things for me to have a better life, only to turn around and be like, you know what? I don't even care. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want them to feel like that.
Yeah. That's an inspiration, but a lot of pressure at the same time.
It is a lot of dirt.
Yes, I bet.
For my family, like I'm going to have better, well, not me, but for my kids, they're going to have better opportunities because I worked for that. And that's why, they're going to have better things. And hopefully they won't have to see all this negativity in the world.
Yeah. And your parents saw a lot of violence before they.
Yeah, firsthand.
Right.
A lot.
Maybe some of our listeners probably don't know a lot about Burundi. I know I didn't know a lot about it until I read a book about it, several years ago. So people probably know about Rwanda and the violence in Rwanda, but I don't know why Burundi is not more well known.
It's okay. So it's like the same thing that happened in Rwanda in Burundi, just the opposite. So in Rwanda, we learned in school that, the Hutus were doing most of the violence and stuff like that. If you go down in Burundi, it's the opposite because the Tutsi people were in power and they were doing most of the killings. They had the army, they had the power, they had everything, and the Hutu people, from my understanding, they wanted like equality. They wanted power as well. They wanted to be able to, hold a job and get paid equally as, the other person, which I still don't understand because when I went back, we all look the same.
And what about in the refugee camp? Did you have both Hutus and Tutsis there? Or
yeah, we did. But like growing up, I didn't know any of that.
And so they got along okay?
Really didn't matter.
Did they get along okay in the camp?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I feel like now when I'm like looking back, I feel like they didn't really have a choice because everybody that was there lost a family on both sides. In a way, they were like each other's family. I didn't see like violence. Well, now that I think about it, I didn't see violence amongst each other, but like based on tribalism. It was based on other things, but not like tribes and stuff like that.
So tell me about what was one of the hardest things you had to deal with when you first came here.
I would have to say assimilating into my new culture, learning English, feeling like I actually, like, this is my home. For the first few months, I couldn't believe, all my siblings couldn't believe that this is our home, you know? I always felt like, what if we get sent back? We kind of have to be on our best behavior just in case something like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I bet.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
Do you remember that, like,
it was like,
was it like a shock?
surreal,
Was it like a shock when you came here that things were so different? Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, I
At
bet.
first, I was like, oh my gosh, we're never going to see our friends. You know, we left them
Yeah, I
behind. Like,
bet.
we're stuck here. But then you got to think about all the positivity. You know, you have food, you can walk anywhere. You're not going to get shot or any of that. You can go to school. You know, you just have a lot more opportunities, you know?
Yeah. So I remember that you went to my middle school. You went to Highland Park because I went to Highland Park.
Went to Highland Park.
Yes. And
Yeah.
how did the other kids treat you when you first arrived?
Honestly, I don't know if I can say anything because I didn't understand what was being said. You know? I know, like, they would point out, like, the clothes I wore. But then again, I just thought, you know, because I wore, like, a lot of African clothes when I got here. They would point and laugh. At first, like, I didn't understand that until I started learning English is when I realized, oh, my gosh, like, I'm being bullied. Like, it did make me feel like an outsider because me and my sister and some other Muslim kids who were coming from Somalia were the only, like, Africans there, and we were the only ones who, like, did not speak English. At Highland Park, I wasn't bullied like that much, or maybe I was. I just wasn't aware of that.
Right.
It wasn't until, like, middle school that I actually started understanding what is being said. Middle school and high school that it was more prevalent, and, like, it was done to my face.
Yeah. And your parents ended up having 10 children, is that right?
No, 9.
Do you like being part of a big family?
I do.
You do? Yeah.
Every one of us is different, and you get to find, like, your clique. You know,
really?
like, I hate to say that.
A large family. That's interesting.
Yeah. There's always someone in the house. There's always someone to talk to, you know?
Yeah. And you're outgoing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very outgoing.
So do you have any introverts in your family?
Yeah, those that were that grew up here, very shy, very antisocial, always glued to their phones in their room, reading their books.
It's probably a little harder on them being part of a big family then, huh?
I know.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. So tell me about, you raised money. Songkar told me about, after you came and spoke at Voices from the Margins, and he was saying, about how Olive raised all that money to go back to Africa. He was just astonished at how you did that. So can you tell us a little bit more about, because you raised like $17,000, didn't you?
Yeah, I was actually shocked too. Okay, so, like, back when I was in college and stuff like that, I never actually shared this with anybody. I used to feel, like, inadequate about myself. I don't know where that feeling came from, but I used to feel like, because of my background and how poor we were, like, there was nothing I could do to change the world. And then one day, this was one of my, I think it was like a psychology class. We, like, prepared a little speech about ourselves. And then we were talking about, the kind of things we wanted to see in the world and how we wanted to see it being done and what we wanted to do in the world. That's when I shared my story with the class. And a lot of the people didn't, like, know me like that. They just knew me as, like, the bubbly person who's always all smiles, always, happy and stuff like that. It wasn't until I shared my experience that the teacher was like, wow, like, I'm inspired. Like, I can't believe you went through all this and you still, like, I don't know, see happiness out of the world. Like, I honestly felt like, wow, if I can change someone by just simply sharing my story, like, I can do more. That year, it was my junior year, I decided, you know what, for my thesis statement, I want to do it abroad. And by doing it abroad, I want to be able to help folks along the way. I decided to do my thesis in Tanzania. And then I decided, you know what, since I'm already here, let me get the most out of it and help out. So I raised money, and the teacher actually encouraged me to share my story like with the rest of the school, which is what we did. They ended up publishing student success stories on the PSU website, and it attracted a lot of people. Like I didn't think it was going to, but it ended up doing so, and we got a lot of money out of that. And then other people who couldn't donate money, they donate like school books, notebooks, pencils, backpacks, like a lot of stuff. I was touched. I really put it in my hands to, to help out as, my
Yeah.
mission as I went back home.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And then did you send all the supplies ahead of you or did you carry them with you?
Oh, no, I carried it.
You did?
Actually, I ended up sacrificing a lot of my personal
Oh
stuff.
my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And it costs a lot of money too.
Yeah, I bet.
I figure, I'm already going out, just buy some of the clothes from there. I only brought with me my laptop, my passport, a few clothes, and I got most of my other clothes over there. And then the rest of my luggage and my dad's luggage, we carried the school supplies,
All right.
all the stuff that was given to us to give out. First, my dad wanted to take me to Burundi because I've never actually been there, aside from being born there.
Yeah.
He took me there, and then, he showed me where I was born.
Oh.
He showed me, where he was born, where all the, violence took place. He showed me all of that. And we divided the money in half. We bought school supplies, and we helped a lot of students. I believe about 400 students, and most of them didn't even have parents. Can you believe that? And this was just in one little district town. It was crazy. So we divided the money in half and assisted the first people in Burundi, and then we did the rest in Tanzania.
I see.
In Iringa, Tanzania, to be specific. But this was in Kiroro village in the Iringa district. Yeah. And I think we helped about like another 200 people over there.
Wow.
But what I realized as I was helping, a lot of the students we supported, they don't have like places to live. Their parents are either dead from, HIV, or their parents just dumped them wherever, and then now they're being raised by their aunties or uncles. Most of the students we supported, they were homeless.
Oh, that must be heartbreaking.
And it sucks because, you can't really have a quality education if you don't have a place to, stay.
Yeah. And if you don't have that support system to help you move on too.
Yeah. So it was it was pretty hectic. It made me want to do something in the future. Not right now, but like in the future. It made me want to like maybe open like a foster care system. The idea I was going with that was, if all these people are living on the street, what if like we could hire like immediate family members, like aunties or uncles, to take them in and like get paid for, helping them. That not only helps that child, but it also helps that family push the kid to school and like eventually help the whole family have a little bit of income and like feed their family. That was the idea I was going with that. I'll revisit later on, but right now I don't think it would work out because my job doesn't pay me that much to like invest in it. That is literally something I want to do.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you would like to go back there and work at some point.
Yeah, that's what I want to do since they can't allow me to go in like that. So that's what I want to do. I want to do maybe in 5 years, after I got my credentials and stuff like that, I want to work as like some kind of humanitarian aid.
Oh, yeah.
Refugee crisis support. Whichever job they offer me, I don't mind. I'll take it.
What was the experience like for your dad going back to Burundi?
He was very nervous, but like he was happy to see folks he hadn't seen in like 20, 30 years.
Wow.
How they recognized him is beyond me, because if you look at his pictures when he was younger and now, two different people.
Oh, really?
A lot of people recognized him. Yeah, he was really happy, honestly. He was happy to see his hometown. I think a lot of people recognized him right away because they're still living like in the same place they lived in 30 years ago.
Right.
It's not like they moved or whatever. It's like their land, so they can't really do that.
And do you have relatives there?
Not that I know of, but according to my dad, I met a lot of people who were supposedly. And to think I could have had this growing up, but I didn't. But I'm serious. I didn't have families when I was a kid.
Did that make you sad knowing that you could have had that?
It did, because I'm just like, wow, I could have had this connection with these people, but I don't.
I bet.
And I'm 24, so I lost all my life.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about the recent focus on Black Lives Matter. And have you gotten involved in the movement, or are you having more conversations about race with people? What do you think?
I have a friend and I went to the protest in Portland before it got all violent. I'm doing the best I can, but after that I got really scared, for myself. Don't want to put myself in that scenario, but it's made me, I'm always vocal about the fact that my life matters. Made me like patient, because I keep meeting, especially online, I keep meeting, like, I don't know if they're ignorant or that they're choosing to not acknowledge the things that's happening. I really don't know. But it's made me want to like be patient with people and like tell them why my life matters, right? And we saw a woman with a sign that read Black Lives Matter, and I told the lady, as it should, thank you. And the other lady that was approaching felt offended or something like that. And then I took my time. I was like, okay, she's offended. Why is she offended? Like, I actually want to know why she's offended. And she went on a rhetoric saying that, all lives matter. And I was like, yes, that's true. All lives matter. And that, Black lives, not only all lives matter, like saying that, I don't know where she was going with that, but I think she was trying to say that, like every lives matter. We're one human race, right? So in the back of my head, I was like, if that's the truth, you would think, she would be on the street protesting as well, because clearly our life doesn't. But she didn't see it that way. And then, she started saying things like, the only reason we feel the way we feel is because, we're always, bringing the race card or whatever, or, we also, we're killing each other every single day. That's a Black on Black crime thing, which don't even get involved with that.
No.
And then I know she brought that up.
All the argument.
The thing that makes me really mad is when I think about like my Black life here is, for me, like at any given point, like I can go back home if things get really nasty, right? I can go back home. But there are people who don't know their homes. Like, this is their home. And they're being treated like criminals for no reason. Like, you know me, I have never committed a crime. I've never stolen. I don't even know what, a jail cell looks like aside from what I see on TV. And then for somebody to feel like I'm a criminal just because of my skin tone is ridiculous. But then I explained to her, that is true. We all have a hard life. But some of us, we have a hard life. On top of that, our skin tone is a problem. And, she just was not understanding it. So if anything, I'm just going to keep having the same conversation every single day until we get through somebody.
Wow, that
It's
sounds
crazy.
exhausting.
It is.
Yes.
What can we
I know.
do? Like, I can't stay silent. Eventually, I'm going to have kids, and they're gonna live here. And whether I like it or not, this is gonna be their home. So what can I do?
She probably could not, right?
And this woman's like 6. It's rough because she's white. And I didn't understand the qualities that happen every single day. Like, let me tell you something. We have been called our neighbor. We don't live in the best neighborhood. Okay, that's why we keep to ourselves. Some of the neighbor have called the police on us like 12 times.
Seriously?
I'm not lying to you.
Oh my gosh.
For ridiculous things that can come and say, hey, can you, for example, we have a cat. One of the neighbors' cat came to our place, and we cook outside, like we roast things outside, and their cat came in our backyard. We saw the cat coming. We never fed the cat food. Nobody does that. But the neighbor called the police, and instead of saying exactly what happened, it's kind of funny how they say race isn't a thing, but when they call the police, they bring race. I don't know who it was, but I know who the neighbor was. Anyway, they called the police saying that we were making a lot of noise. We were feeding their animals. They even said something about destruction of property.
Really?
And to top it off, they said like an African family, blah, blah, blah. And the police, boy, were they quick. And then they knock on our door and they're like, hey, we got a noise complaint, amongst other things. And then we explained to them, what is happening. They left, right? And then they call the police on us again. Michael, he plays, he's always running around like a typical 60-year-old. And one day he was riding his bike and he fell, and he had bruises from falling the bike. And they all saw that, right? And then the next thing we know, after we got him fixed and stuff like that, they called the police on child abuse. Again, they said, we think this African American family is abusing their children. Wow. The police showed up, and we're just like, and Michael was very terrified, police. I was like, okay, like, I don't have anything to hide. You can ask the kid himself. He'll tell you otherwise.
Right.
They've called the police on me for driving. Apparently, I looked suspicious. Wow. This was around when I got my brand new car, a car that I worked for 2 years saving. Wow. And then when I was stopped, I felt like I'm going to get a ticket because I was speeding a little bit. But then the person said, the police was like, I was called because apparently somebody looked suspicious and stuff like that. Do you live in the neighborhood? I was like, yeah, that's my house. It's like, oh, okay. Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe the wrong person, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. I bet they do all this. This is a guarantee because, we're Black,
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I shouldn't have to tell somebody, I deserve this when everybody else is getting it for free.
Yeah.
Just because of my skin tone. Like,
exactly.
All of a sudden, I'm a criminal. It does not work like that. And I try to explain this to the lady, but her only excuse was, they didn't call the police because you're Black. They were just concerned, and they call the police because they're concerned. I'm like, but okay, if they were that concerned, why didn't they approach me and tell me how they felt?
A lot of times people will say that could happen to anyone. That happened to me once.
Exactly. Right. Okay, but how many times does it happen in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
I honestly, I was scared. Okay, especially when they came over child abuse. I was like, oh my gosh, like, they're gonna take Michael away, right? Because of that. It was crazy. There's a lot. My father has experienced a lot worse because he's a man and stuff like that every day. Sometimes I'm even afraid for him.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, so I'm not gonna get tired sharing
Wow.
why
Mm-hmm.
also matters. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
not gonna get tired, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
tiring it gets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep going. I think of all those who actually lost their lives
Mm-hmm.
for this, and I'm just like, the least I can do is get involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. You continue to inspire me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you recommend to our listeners one movie, one book, and one singer?
Yeah, one movie, I would say The Black Panther.
Well, I love Black Panther. I know we talked about that before, didn't we? Black Panther,
Yes.
yes. Tell me about what you loved most about that movie.
Because that movie did, above and beyond job. They put in a lot of real, authentic culture from West Africa and East Africa and merged it in one. And they showcased how great we are. And in a way, I was thinking, imagine if we hadn't been colonized, where would we be?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So watch it.
I listened to Alicia Keys. You know Alicia Keys?
Yeah.
I listened to her memoir, and she has two sons, and one of her sons is named Egypt. And she talked about how she taught her sons about race and racism. And the way she did it was she taught them all about the history of Africa. She taught her sons that their ancestors were kings before she even talked about enslavement.
Right. That's the other thing too. I mean, slavery is American history. It's not just African history. But it's good to know that, we were kings and stuff like that, because almost always when you watch movies or read a book, we're always made out to be like hopeless, like we can't really defend ourselves, like we're victims. But when I read about my story prior, like our own history prior to colonialism, it looks like we had, a lot of things going for ourselves. We had a monarchy that worked great for us. We had our own system, but that was all crashed and destroyed.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's what I love the most about Black Panther. It was the glorification of Africa and what Africa would be like if it weren't for colonization.
Yeah, that's what I like about it too, and the culture aspect.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about loving the one scene, which I loved as well, with all of the different people and different fabrics representing different African cultures and tribes. And it was like a waterfall scene, and that was just beautiful.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite too, because the Burundian tribes of Atlanta, they were featured in that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Even my culture got, a mention.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what about a book and a singer that you like?
I would say Kendrick Lamar, currently reading right now. It's by Dr. Joy DeGry. I might be reading their last name wrong. And it's called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Oh.
It's a really nice read. So far, like, I'm learning a lot of things. I would encourage people to read it. It's great.
Yeah, that does sound really. I was just I was having a conversation with my parents today, and I was saying how I feel like one thing that I've become much more aware of in the last few years is the inherited trauma that Black people, in the Western world have from slavery, and it's like in your bone structure, because it's part of who you were, your ancestry. And I think I'm guessing that's probably what this author is talking about a little bit. Yeah.
And Africans from here, they honestly weren't given the time to get over their trauma. It was trauma after trauma after trauma,
Yeah.
And in a way, they need an open space that isn't judgmental, where they can just say all their frustration, to get over that, because they can't get over that. They can't get over it. We need to continue to keep having these talks and stuff. I know it happened a long time ago, but the cycle keeps continuing in a different way each time. which is astonishing to me. And a lot of people just don't see it whenever like it comes up again.
So, what are you most proud of?
I think I am proud by the fact that I am able to show sympathy and accept people and their truth for who like they are. I think that's what I'm most proud of.
That's definitely something to be proud of.
I think this goes back to how I was feeling inadequate. And then like I just started feeling down, became a little depressed because I honestly felt like there was no way I could change the world. I don't know. That just taught me you don't really need to have all this much wealth to really save somebody. You just have to have like a good, pure heart. And with that, you can pretty much do anything. It could even be words of encouragement because you never know what people are going through, you know? And if you just stop and listen, actually listen to what somebody's saying, you could change somebody. You know, somebody could be suicidal, but like they're not going to tell you, hey, I'm going to do this today. But like if you listen and are able to show empathy, you know, have a conversation, you could help them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, you told me you're going to take the GRE. What are you going to study in grad school?
I'm going to study a master in public health at OHSU.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, if I get in.
So think back to your teenage self, the one at Highland Park Middle School. What would you say to her now? You know, when you were very, new to the US and overwhelmed and you didn't speak much English, if you could go back and say something to her, to that adolescent teenage self, what would you say to her?
Be yourself. Don't take everything that's said to you to heart. Keep working hard. Eventually, you'll make it in life. Never give up. Keep working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're living that way now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, and if you could get paid to do anything as a job, what would you do?
I really want to work for the UN and either UN or UNICEF because those guys are the reason why I'm here. So I want to like be able to assist the next family.
Yeah.
That's my dream job.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Is there something that you wish people understood about you?
Yeah, I'm not mad all the time when I say my life matters because people are like, why are you always angry? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just telling you my life matter. You should get with it too.
Yeah.
Because I've been told you're angry and you're bitter. And that's why, you're not going to get anywhere in life if you're like that.
That's really annoying.
Huh?
That's really annoying.
I know.
Like, oh my! Well, I mean, first of all, you have a reason to be angry, and second of all, I mean, you are just such a warm, wonderful person. It's hard, it's like,
Thank you. I want the rest of the world to see me like that.
It really amazes me to think about just the hardships that Black people have in America and being judged on the basis of your race and not on, your character. And then so many of the Black people that I know are such loving, wonderful people and are so forgiving. That's the amazing thing.
I feel like a lot of the people who are, a bit racist, I don't think they know enough African people, honestly. Yeah. I feel like all the prejudice that they harbor in their hearts is the things they see on TV.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't know any African, and I know a lot of African and Black folks from here. I don't know anybody who is a bad person. I have never encountered anybody like that. So I need them to take me to these places and show me these people. The next time somebody says something like that, I'm honestly going to ask them about that. Like, I need you to take me to this place so I can see it for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is the media. Like you said, the images that we usually see in film, a lot of the images that we see are negative of Black people. So that's why Black Panther was so amazing. It's like, you've got kings and princes and queens. And, it's so inspiring. And also like the technology in Black Panther. And
it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, this is what could have been. Yeah, exactly. So I think that unfortunately the media, I think also can be biased in what they show. Like I saw a newspaper front page recently, and there were like two crimes. There were two men that were arrested for crimes. One of them was white and one of them was black. And the picture of the black person was way bigger than the picture of the white person, which made no sense at all. But I think that sometimes the media does not help, and pop culture doesn't help, and just the images that people see.
But to add to that too, I don't know if you ever noticed the language that is used. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, they're both criminals, but for God's sake, why are you trying to like make one out to be, I don't know, like a monster, and the other one, they simply got carried away and made a big mistake. Really?
Right.
Really?
That's totally true. Yeah.
Okay.
I totally agree.
Because I don't know if you remember the story of Brock Turner. My business. And then I'm reading about, a rape thing that happened at Stanford University. And like, I was mad about it too. But when I was reading the title, I was honestly waiting to see the rapist, but that was a rapist. But the language it was used, it made it look like, oh, that's not the person. I was waiting to see like their maksha, but there was none. They had used like a really nice photo from his childhood, but like when comparing to other crimes committed by an African person, it's always their maksha.
Yeah. Or like Jeremy Christian's, another one, the guy, the Max stabber. He was, I think, didn't the police like take him to get a Coke or something? I mean, there was something ridiculous. And here he had stabbed people on the Max.
I think they
took him to fast food or something. And I mean, that is such a contrast to George Floyd. George Floyd was suspected of, a $20 counterfeit bill. And look at what they did to him. And then Jeremy Christian killed people and threatened these
in broad daylight.
Had all these witnesses. And oh my God, I know. I'm so glad that he was convicted.
Me too.
Let's talk about my subtitle is Grit, Resilience, and Connection. What do these words mean to you? Grit, resilience, and connection.
Strength. And when I think of resilience, I think of when you get knocked down, you don't just give up. Oh my gosh, I'm down. I can't get up. Like you get up, you keep pushing. With connection, I was thinking like being able to understand and connect with somebody who's been through, who's been through what you've been through. Yeah, that's how I was thinking those words.
Yeah. And do you feel like your parents instilled those values in you?
Honestly, I feel like everybody that have been in a war-torn country and have seen literally like their mom, their dad, their sister being killed in front of them, I feel like they possess all this.
Absolutely.
Because they had kids, they had the option to like, save themselves, but they chose to take little kids at 6 months, like you're probably crying and stuff like that. And they were like, you know what, we're gonna take you and we're gonna keep you safe until we're all safe. I feel like anybody who's been through that scenario has grit, resilience, and connection.
Exactly. So how do you think someone can increase their resilience? Do you have any ideas because this is what I love about hearing immigrant stories is I feel like immigrants have so much resilience.
I think it's because against everything they faced through, they were, able to recognize, okay, this is a challenge, but like they didn't like give it up. They went through it and kept continuing. Setbacks didn't really stop them from achieving what they wanted to do. Like when my parents were applying to come here, the first time around we got rejected, But, they kept trying and trying until, we were accepted by the US. Also, like, learning to take criticism, because not everybody's going to like you, But if you take that to heart, you're really not going to get anywhere. Also, for me, I find, other inspirations and successful stories that make me want to even do more for me and those around me.
Yeah, that's one of my other questions is can you think of an example of a story of someone who's demonstrated resilience, grit, and connection that has really inspired you?
I think my mom and dad.
Yeah.
The fact, for example, my dad, he went back to school. Did I share that with you?
No.
This was, I believe, 2015. But when we first got here, he did, the basic schooling just to kind of figure out how to get around, stuff like that. And then he went to get his GED. It took him like 10 years, but, he never gave up. He got it.
Yeah.
And when I asked him, I was like, Dad, why? 10 years? That's like a drag. He was like, well, I wanted to, inspire my children. If I don't even know English, if I can go back to school and get my GED and graduate, all of you guys can do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you were the first person in your family to get a college degree.
Yes. That's why it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person ever in my entire, like, that side of family, or aside from that, graduating with his GED, mom's side of family. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
Well,
there's a lot of pressure coming all sides, they're looking at me like, so are you going to get your PhD? I'm like, I don't know.
They want you to get your PhD now, huh?
They really do.
That's awesome. You've got a cheering squad, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that probably seeing your dad plow away at the GED for 10 years, that must have really propelled
what
you.
What gets me is the 10 years.
That's wonderful.
So I guess it really doesn't matter as long as you get to the finish line.
Please tell your parents that they should be really proud of you.
Yeah, they are.
And that they should be really proud of themselves too.
Yeah, I tell them every single day. I'm like, you guys, you see, this is why I believe, in a God, because ain't no way somebody to go through that and survive. Like, I just feel like there was a spirit guiding them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even know where it was.
Wow. That's wonderful. Great story. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Olive.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope I can see you in person someday soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Olive.
I hope to see you soon.
Yes, I'll be in touch. Wasn't that an inspiring story? You can find out more information on how to reach Olive in the show notes. Stay tuned for our next episode when I talk to Skye Liebold, another inspiring woman who is living her life to the fullest while enduring the challenges of metastatic breast cancer. She is a true fighter. You won't want to miss it. The Finding Fertile Ground podcast is brought to you by Fertile Ground Communications, and our music is by wonderful jazz pianist Jonathan Swanson. Come back for episode number 2.